Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Xaereth Prevails, a Grand Arena story. Today we're in match 6 of Championships 10. That means that we're in week 2, match 3 of that week. So we're in like the consolation finals. It's like the fight for one Zeta mat, essentially. So nothing too crazy high stakes. My opponent only has one Galactic Legend, which if you've been following all my other matches, you know that I've been making a big deal of double Galactic Legends and how I've had to face them. I only have one myself, so it makes things significantly more difficult in some regards. And the hope is that if I can actually beat people with only one Galactic Legend, and if I can beat them convincingly, then it kind of gives weight to my argument that double Galactic Legends is difficult. So I'll keep an eye on that. Now, in this match, and I'll go over my defenses in a little bit, but in this match, I've placed a very strong defense. I really enjoy playing strong defenses, and that's one option that is very difficult to do when you're facing double Galactic Legends. So just keep an eye out for that, and hopefully we have a good match. See you on the other side. One thing that I have been remiss in all of my videos lately is thanking my patrons. I really appreciate all of the support, guys. You guys are amazing. I don't know what I would do without you, so thank you so much for everything and for supporting this channel. All right, so I am facing Asheya. As Heya. They're facing me as Heya. There's just forgot to put a space between it. Facing off against someone with an ultimate Supreme Leader Kylo. And as you can see, they get number 1 in Arena every day. They are only possessed of one Galactic Legend, which is a huge deal for me. And if we look at the stats for a minute here, you can see that our relic levels are actually pretty close. He beats me by just a tiny bit, I guess. Really, I would say that we're pretty close to even, honestly. Mods is the big story, of course. I have double the plus 20 speed, which is pretty telling. That's a pretty big deal. I also have 23 more Gear 13s in terms of overall lifetime banners. I've had more success, but not by a huge margin. Like 350k is a pretty respectable number. So good on my opponent. Now, my defenses I placed are pretty tough, honestly. Hopefully you guys can see this infographic or whatever it is. This is something that I actually post for all of my patrons every match so that they can see what I've posted. So if you want to check that out, please feel free to check out my Patreon link in the video description. And what I'm trying to do here, I placed my own Supreme Leader Kylo because the GAC history showed that my opponent always keeps Supreme Leader Kylo no matter what, no matter who he's facing. I'm also trying out this Dengar, Rebel Officer Leia Organa, and Stormtrooper Han team in the front just to throw them off. Hopefully they throw something weak at it and time out or something. Dengar does something nasty on his lead. It makes the opponent do half damage to Stormtrooper Han on crits, or to anyone on crits, and Stormtrooper Han is already really tough to kill, so hopefully either they spend Nihilus on that squad, or they just time out, potentially. So that's what I'm doing there, and then just a bunch of other teams that are pretty strong. I have my full bastard Darth Revan squad in the back, of course, along with my Resistance hero Finn and Poe. With Finn, they do a huge amount of damage. I have the veterans in the back with Poe. Lots of pretty tricky squads to navigate, honestly. Just a bunch of like B+ teams that they'll have to spend. They don't have enough meta teams to cover it, and that's the goal, at least, is to wear them down. We'll see if that actually works. So when I logged in, my opponent had already attacked. Like almost immediately they attacked, in fact, which was nice, so that I would know where to stand. They one-shot my front zone. So clearly the Dengar lead didn't quite do its trick unless they spent something really strong on my back. And then on the top, they also one-shot everything. So that wasn't that promising of a start for me, honestly. Didn't feel that great. And then they took 2 to get through my veterans. They took 2 to not kill anything on my Darth Revan squad, and then they left Geonosians and the Resistance heroes alone, and then they took 2 to get through my fleets. So I was standing pretty decently. I guessed that they probably wouldn't full clear me, but I needed to get a full clear if I could. Their front zone didn't have anything I was that worried about, and really I just wanted to be as efficient as possible. You can note all of the yellow surrounding the heads of these guys. They're gear 12 everywhere. Just a very pretty porous defense. So I wanted to start off the fight with some decent points here. And so this Poggle team it can do decent damage against certain teams because Poggle gives an insane amount of offense to all the different characters. And Droideka with relics can do a ton of damage, but Nest does not really care that much about Nest and damage, because even if Droideka gets a bunch of turns or a bunch of different shots, which it probably won't because Nest is not that fast, but even if Droideka did get a bunch of shots, Nest doesn't care because each of those shots are individual hits, and each individual hit increases Nest's protection or bonus protection. So this squad, I think the biggest threat would be like if I somehow couldn't chew through IG 100, or rather Magna Guard, but obviously that wasn't a big issue, and I got 55 banners against a squad that can be problematic. Nest handles it pretty easily. So now we've got this General Grievous squad with the B1 and B2, and that can be a very tricky squad. And then there's also the Dooku with Nest squad. And so what I'm trying to do here, you take Kylo Ren unmasked with Executioner, you throw in Watt with them so that you're not going to really be hit by anyone. Now, this is a little bit foolish in some ways, just because you have the permanent taunting tech on Kylo Ren unmasked, and that's great until you realize that all 3 of these characters can in some ways ignore that taunt. Dooku can hit beyond the taunt and stun multiple characters. Nest can just straight up ignore it, and so can Jango. So that can be a sticking point. So what you want to do, you just want to stun Nest as quick as you possibly can, because Dooku left her out in the open anyways. And then after that, it looks like they had a very fast Jango, so he's already outside of his damage immunity. And so you can just kill him with First Order Executioner, and Executioner kind of went a little too crazy and killed him too fast. 51 banners, though, is pretty fine. Those guys just had too little gear, frankly, and Jango died, even though he had Bounty Hunter's Resolve. He got taken out because he couldn't. First Order Executioner disallows revives of any sort, so that definitely helped. Now we're facing off against this General Grievous squad, and frankly, it's kind of a hole in my list building, in my offense. I don't have a great team to deal with General Grievous with this kind of build. At least I could take out some of the builds that have Magna Guard and stuff in it with Traya, but this squad has too much offense on it, and it was a well modded team, so I needed to be careful. I decided to take Padme here, and frankly, I mean, I don't think that's necessarily much of a waste. Padme is good, but you need to make sure you can beat this team, because if you go at it a little too with a little too easy of teams or too weak of teams, then you're going to just probably fail, or you're going to lose a lot of banners. And Padme in 3v3 against General Grievous is a pretty strong team, honestly. You can see that Anakin was starting to get a little bit low on health there, and that's unfortunate, but I think that in the long run, like it's going to be rare to lose anyone against any General Grievous comp with Padme, as long as you have the requisite relic levels, which I do. And now, you want to take out B2 first, because otherwise he's just dispelling everything. Then B1, because otherwise Grievous is just going to shove the taunt over anyways onto B1, and then take out Grievous. Pretty easy banners there. And now we can see what's in the back zone. And hopefully it's nothing too crazy. I was hoping they didn't have Supreme Leader Kylo hidden back there against all reason. And all they really had was like a Traya team that wasn't fully relicked. And the rest of them were like not that hard, honestly. Like I had a lot on offense to be able to have to face this. So I decided to take out the strongest teams first, which is important to do, kind of just work our way down. So Traya, you want to target Traya first if you think you can take her out, which I could. She was only gear 12, and Han and Chewie are both Relic 7. They both have a lot of offense. And then after that, I mean, it's not that hard. There's only 3 characters here, and Sion does an AoE, and that makes me assist or counter and take him out. And then Nihilus also would eventually have had an AoE, but we killed him before he could actually use it. So 52 banners, that's pretty much what you expect with that kind of disparity in relic level. Though in reality, even with a few relics, I think this would have been a relatively easy match for Commander Luke. That's how it's been in the past. And now we're going to take our bounty hunters up against a team that's been pretty easy for them. Night Sisters are a fairly easy match for bounty hunters, just because they can do a lot of things that Night Sisters rely on, such as they can deny revives with Jango using any basic or attack, any special attack for that matter, during his own turn, or using Boba's execute ability. And they can give healing immunity to different characters, which is nice. And then finally, the Fets can ignore that taunt that Zombie is doing right now because they have Bounty Hunter's Resolve. So you see that Jango almost killed Daka. The biggest worry against this squad, honestly, is getting stun locked against Night Sisters. That's a very real threat. If your Bounty Hunters can't actually take a turn, then you can really have some struggles. So took out old Daka there first. I'm not really sure why exactly I did that. Probably just because she was a target of opportunity and she had healing immunity for a little bit. But we did take out Asajj next, and you see that Zombie didn't actually do anything here. She got shot a couple times, ended up with 53 banners, which is unfortunate because a lot of times, bounty hunters can actually get more than just 64, but still not too bad if I'm being totally honest. So now we're going to go into a match where I wanted to take 3 clones. This is for a feat. You have to win with using 3 clones. It didn't have to be 501st, so I'm using Clone Sergeant here. And I faced off against these bounty hunters, gear 12 on Boba, and I think gear 12 on Dengar, and then if I remember correctly, a relict Bosk. Yep, looks like it's relict. So Clone Sergeant is only gear 12. He's indifferently modded. I barely ever use him. I'm just using him for the feat because I need 3 clone troopers. So I have 5s and then Rex lead, of course. So Clone Sergeant is just dead. I guess it's nice that he ate a couple bullets. He's going to ensure that I don't get great banners. But now I have the Rexecute available from Rex. Took out the Relic Bosk relatively easily. And now we just have to hope that Boba doesn't get too frisky here and take out both clones. He can actually. Boba can do a huge amount of damage even at gear 12. And it always baffles me. Like, people can do so much damage with Boba at gear 12. Why don't you just get him to 13? He can do even more. He is crazy. He is so good. So highly recommended on my end, of course. And I took out Dengar there just because Dengar can be frustrating to deal with. And Boba, actually, since he has 2 lives, because of his Bounty Hunter's Resolve, I decided to use Rexecute on Dengar next, just so that he would stop throwing grenades, frankly. So took out that squad fairly easily, though I did only get 48 banners, which isn't great. Even in 3v3, 48 is something that you reserve for really tough matches usually, but we did get through it and we got the feat. So Nothing too crazy. Now we're using Talzin and, or rather Traya and her friends here against Jedi Training Rey. And again, this resistance team is just not very good. Clearly a few steps away from getting up to the next galactic legend, or maybe their owner is just being somewhat wise here, just to keep relic levels low. Though I would advise, if people are going to do that, I'd advise getting people to relic 0, because that's still pretty efficient. Now, the first thing I did was isolate BB-8, because BB-8 feeds a ton of turn meter to the rest of the squad, and you don't want them taking a huge amount of turns. And now we're just going to focus on R2-D2 and eventually just try to annihilate Rey, because Rey is she's kind of the issue here. She has a lot of foresight, and at gear 12 she's really not super resilient, but at higher gear levels you really want to be careful in this match, just because Rey can do so much damage. So what I'm doing here, I could have annihilated her. I'm trying to do something where Scion can heal up with his second special, get his protection back, and that's exactly what he did. He was the only one who had actually taken any damage at that point, and so he used his special on Rey there, regrew all of his protection, and everything is sitting pretty now. So I still have quite a bit of offense remaining, and I was just trying to figure out what team exactly I wanted to take here. And the fact of the matter is, I needed for another feat, and I'm not going for like top 10. I've already lost 2 matches this season, so can't go for top 10. But you always want to make sure you're doing feats to make sure that you're getting into Kyber if something goes really wrong and you start losing a bunch of matches. So what I'm doing here, you have to, in order to get a feat that I'm working on, you need to use Death Trooper and Krennic and get a win. I also needed to get kills with troopers, and so I wanted to try to get a 2-for here. So I'm using Thrawn lead, and I'm just using Death Trooper here. You saw that I got the Annihilate off on the lead, and that's great because that means we don't have to worry about that anymore. Now we can get Deathmark if we want onto Zalbar. I'm just being really cautious here though, because I want to make sure that if I can, that I'll actually be able to get to get multiple kills with Death Trooper. So you see, now I'm fracturing Zalbar, and I just want to take him out if I can. Now, with Krennic, I used the ability to stall for a minute, which was perfect. I used the Grand Admiral's Maneuver, I think is what it's called. I used it to stall so that Sunfac could go he taunted, and then Krennic could then take a turn and shoot Sunfac and save the kill for Death Trooper. So the goal here, of course, is just to get a couple kills with Death Trooper. That's exactly what I got. So I finished him off with Thrawn. 53 banners with that team is not bad. This is kind of an old team that I used to love taking in 3v3 that's kind of gone by the wayside. Really excited to have the opportunity to use it one more time, of course, especially to get a feat. And so now I've gotten a couple feats. I'm feeling pretty good. You know, we don't want to stall out here. I think at this point I was like, man, I don't even know what good team I'm going to have to just leave out. So like I can start combining characters, I guess, to be able to do this. Like my defense was pretty strong, honestly. And so it's kind of crazy. Like I'm taking Bastila with General Skywalker and Ahsoka here. Like General Skywalker should be his own team. He can solo a lot of teams. But really, I mean, may as well just do this. So I'm taking Bastila lead here because look at how much bonus protection we have. As long as we finish with full health, which is always a question mark against Talzin, then as long as I can finish with full health, we're almost guaranteed to finish with max protection as well, just because of all that bonus protection up front that they're hitting first. So 54 banners there, pretty easy. And we got that zone cleared. So up top, we still have a Jedi Revan squad that we can use and a Jedi Luke squad if we want. And we also have Palpatine and Vader. We just have too many good teams, frankly. And I guess the fact is, we also had the opportunity to. We also have Jedi Training Rey here as well, which is crazy. So we also have the opportunity, though, to get as many banners as possible. So what I'm trying to do here is, even though Rey's lightsaber is not ignited currently, I'm taking 3PO here against this Phasma squad, and 3PO is great here because he feeds Rey so much cooldown reduction, and BB-8 cooldown reduction, and he buffs them, he debuffs the opponents so that they can't get bonus turn meter, they can't get assists, and they can't gain buffs. 3PO is really great in 3v3 with Rey. Really, he's great with basically anyone, but with Rey, he's pretty good. Even in 5v5, he's good. He's just good with everyone. So you don't see him often with Rey. He's still very good with them. So now we took out the biggest threat on the right. Now we're just got to take out Phasma and Stormtrooper. This isn't a very strong squad. This is a candidate, honestly, to be able to use Nest to solo them. And really, it takes a while to get Illuminated Destiny off in 3v3 because you're not taking as many turns to reduce all those cooldowns on BB-8, but we got it here just because the only one attacking actively is Rey. Sometimes she calls BB-8 to assist, and sometimes we're just calling 3PO to assist just to reduce cooldowns. So 54 banners here, very, very good at control on that squad, even against higher relic levels. Now, one thing I will point out here is that in my next match, I try using that same team to very different results. So stay tuned for that. That'll be released in a day or two. Hopefully you enjoy it. But for this final match, I'm taking Jedi Luke with Grandmaster Yoda. Those two go so well together. And then Hermit Yoda. So Luke with the Yodas is kind of fun. And now we're just trying to take out this Bastila squad. They have a ton of hit points, of course, because Bastila lead and everything. But Hoda here, everyone is stunned. All of their tenacity avails them not because of Jedi Luke's stun ability. And really, it was over before it started almost. That squad really couldn't stand up to much and clearly just got wrecked there. So now all we have left is a fleet battle, and it looked at this point like I was going to win for sure. If my opponent can't clear that back zone, then I just win, even if I can't clear his fleet. But as a lot of you probably know, I've been struggling a little bit on fleet lately, negotiator mirrors specifically. And part of that is just I don't practice it very much. I just climb with Malevolence to get the hang of that, just so I'm good with that fleet. But I've climbed with Negotiator before. I used to have a pretty strong understanding of how that matchup worked, and so I mean, I also pretty much always win this match, frankly, even if I struggle sometimes. So what we're doing here, we both have the Anakin and Ahsoka lineup with Houndstooth. What we're trying to do here is reduce Anakin's health to about 50%, a little bit lower than that if possible, just to trick the AI into not using their own AoE to daze, and instead they'll do the undying and unending loyalty on Anakin, which is exactly what happened here. So we're not dazed or anything. I'm looking at all my ships. I'm like, man, it would be nice to have Plo here to heal everyone up, to get rid of some of these debuffs. But I couldn't pass up the opportunity. I used Houndstooth, or rather Fives, to come in, do an AoE, and knock Unending Loyalty to Anakin, kill their own Houndstooth. And now we have that bomber that just got in. That can be problematic, of course, because he's applying all these bombs to me. So I'm going to have days for an extra turn. And Now we're just trying to take out, I'm targeting Ahsoka here instead of the bomber, because if you hit the bomber, now I'm trying to remember, but I think if you hit the bomber, you apply more bombs to yourself or something, or maybe I was just, yeah, it looks like Anakin does have more bombs now on him now that he attacked him. So I did get the twofer there with the AoE from Anakin, and Ahsoka was able to just finish him off, and we got 64. And that's pretty dang good. That's only missing 2 banners total from my possible, because I took a full crew, so no undersize or anything. And in the end, I got a pretty good score. 2466 is pretty efficient. And now that I full cleared with 0 fails, my opponent is unable to win the match, no matter what, no matter if they find a way to clear me. In the end, they did not actually clear me. They just chose to keep their score as it was. And so that was it, folks. Really, for that many banners that my opponent had, lifetime banners, I expected a little stronger defense or stronger showing, but I was able to just put an incredibly tough defense down. Just a lot of really tough teams to deal with. Like, none of them are extremely difficult on their own, but once you start using some of your really strong teams on them, you start realizing that you don't necessarily have enough off-meta counters to deal with all of those. So against single Galactic Legends, I feel like the formula is working, at least in two of my matches so far, just putting really strong defenses down. We'll see how it keeps going. My next match that you guys will watch, and I alluded to it a little bit previously, my next match is going to be very difficult. The person has about the same lifetime banners as I do, and they are incredibly strong. They have a really strong defense. So I'll show you guys that match soon. And until then, I really appreciate you guys watching. Just a reminder to hit the like button if you enjoyed the match. And one way or another, thank you all so much for watching. And remember that in all things, Xaereth prevails.